In 2006, my mom took my little sister Kaylee and I to a local park. I was 6 years old, and I think Kaylee was 5. Sunny without a cloud in sight. It was the perfect weather for a fun day at the park. I remember how excited we were as my mom's old sedan parked in the parking lot. Kaylee and I couldn't help but squeal in delight. As soon as my mom parked, I practically burst out of the car door, dead set on joining the other boys in the intense game of make-believe. My mom stopped me, though, telling me that I had to for her to unbuckle Kaylee from her car seat and put the sunblock on us. I begrudgingly made my way back over, and as my mom was lavering at my face and arms, I noticed someone in the woods staring at us. A man basked in the shadows. I didn't take too long for a glance at him, but from what I saw, he looked to be in his early mid-30s, with the wispy brown hair, bright big glasses, and dark clothes. Honestly, he looked a lot like the Riddler from the Batman 2002 to 22. Even from where we were, I could tell that his eyes weren't directed towards me, but towards Kaylee, who was just walking around, bored. He also looked like he was a little wet. For a lack of better word, the man had some kind of white liquidy substance dripping from his face, as if his skin was leaking off. My mom told me to close my eyes, and once I opened them again, they looked back to where the man was, and he was gone. Since I was just a kid, I didn't really think too much of it and just thought of it was he was interesting, I guess. The man quickly left my mind when Kaylee and I go up to play. I'm not going to specifics about how the day went. Like always, we had a blast. Kaylee was always shy, so she didn't engage much with the other kids. She was more into digging up worms and making dirt castles and then swinging on monkey bars. Otherwise, she would have stayed close to our mom. Two other boys and I were pretending to be pirates, defending the playground from other boys who dared raid our ship. After winning a stick sword fight against the nerdy blonde boy, I went down the silver slide. You know those ones that burn you with the might of thousand suns if you as so much as touch them? I tried my best to keep my skin from touching the metal, but when I got to the bottom I looked up to see a familiar face staring down at me. His appearance was clearer now. I feel like his face was moving, changing very subtle ways. His eyes were huge, and I mean huge, almost cartoon-like, like raindrops off a gutter. His pale, sickly, long-looking skin dripped to one side and onto me. It was so cold and felt like it was burning my skin. Though it was hot as hell out, I felt like I had a frostbite. I even saw it fall to the ground, slowly pooling around him as he stood there without even a shred of emotion on his face. I saw you staring at me. An odd feeling coursed through my body as he spoke, a tingle that crawled up my way up the spine and dispersing through everything that I was. His voice was horribly echoey dissonant to it, like some of the white liquid had came out of his mouth. I didn't respond to him, just giving him an awkward My parents versed Kaylee and I heavily stranger danger. That sense was definitely going on. Your name is James? It took me a while for it to answer. The man's big eyes never left mine, even if I was turned every which way to see if anyone was looking. Of course, there were kids and their parents around, but they weren't paying any attention. How could no one see what was happening? I gave a timid, yeah? The man nodded, and I looked at him with emotion that looked like he was taking a deep breath, but no sound came out. My mom was sitting on a nearby bench, watching Kaylee as she lifted up a rock, looking for worms. Slowly turning his head in their direction, I could see that the man's eyes were no so big, in fact, they came a few inches off of his face. His pupils widened, and the white liquid poured out more violently out of his mouth. He was like salivating. And that is Kaylee? His voice grew more garbled by the liquid now. I was just a kid, and I didn't know any better. Yeah? Immediately he turned back to me, the octopus amount of white liquid immediately gone from his mouth, though still dripping like tears down a cheek. He stepped onto the slide, causing it to creak a little bit. I backed up, towering over me, because the light white liquid began to fall on my face. He then slowly leaned down until his face was right up to mine. It was so unnatural the way he did it. Does Kaylee like mice? My sister liked all animals, clearly. I didn't exactly know if she liked mice in particular, so I assumed she did. I think so. My voice was quivering so bad. The man raised back up, his eyes still intensely focused on mine, his strange-looking lips briefly curled into a half smile. Thank you. He stepped off the slide, leaving white footsteps behind. I watched the tears welling up in my eyes as he slowly walked out and back into the forest. I didn't want to play anymore after that. Sitting with my mom, I wondered how she nor anyone else couldn't see that man. It was so weird. When she tried to get an explanation out of my son's demeanor change, I couldn't stammer out the words for it. I know I should have just told her, but I was 6 years old, trying to really process these jarring emotions. If the man was normal, I would have told her, but the way he talked, walked, looked, spoke, he was just so real, and clashed with everything I knew up until that point. We'd been there for about 2 hours, and it was around 1 in the afternoon. My mom decided it was a good time for lunch. Rifling out her bag, she pulled out a ham and cheese sandwiches in Ziploc bags she made just for Kaylee and I. Kaylee, time for lunch! There was no response. Kaylee? My mother and I turned around. Where my sister once was. Gone. Just a big patch of grass and a flipped over rock left in her place. Kaylee? My mom yelled. Kaylee! And at that moment, I wasn't thinking of him. My sister was gone, poof, vanished out of thin air. Immediately we got up and tried to look for her. My mom did tell me to look for her on the playground, but she was nowhere to be seen. I asked a few of the boys I was playing with. Nothing. Some parents. Nothing. Even an old couple sitting on the bench. Still nothing. I'd never seen my mom this so scared. It really freaked me out. She called the police as I was checking the playground again. I slid down the same slide and the man approached me on, and when I got to the bottom, it hit me like a truck. I immediately ran over to my mom and started telling her about the man. She stopped talking with the operator on the line to listen to me. I saw her eyes deaden as the realization dawned on her, tears beginning to form in her eyes. It took a moment for her to collect her bearings, but when she did, she told me the operator what I said. Police were there in a matter of minutes. They took our witness statements, getting detailed description of the man from my account. While they accepted the wispy brown hair and the glasses and black clothing, no one accepted the more unusual parts about the man. Like I saw their faces, like I was just being a hyper-imaginative 6-year-old. I knew what I saw, but no matter how much I pushed, they didn't budge. The police released statements. Search parties were organized. We put up missing person posters, but Kaylee never turned up. A day passed, then a month, then a year. My family bawled their eyes out every day. Our school had been an hour of silence for her, and we even had a memorial at the church where we all went to. Everyone tried their best to help, but we had to accept the inevitable. Kaylee was gone, and with her that man and the white substance he was leaking. The police never found him either. But that was to be expected. He was something not of this world. Let's fast forward 5 years later. In 2011, we tried our best to move on. The police eventually stopped checking up on us, as did the public. Life would never be the same, though I missed her. I wanted her back. I wanted to keep searching, but it was time to move on, whether I wanted to or not. I was 11 years old for the summer vacation. You usually associate summertime with the words such as fun, laughter, beaches, sunshine, and being away from the stresses at school. That summer, however, was for many children a period of absolute terror. I'm sure you know what I'm referring to. Bad Mouse was literally everywhere. You literally can't turn on Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and Cartoon Network without disturbing edits showed up on the screen. Every day the media reported a string of hijackings that would never be solved, and there was no way to explain them, no way to stop them. The police simply gave up. There was nothing they could do. We were under siege by some madman who wanted nothing more to do than to torment and destroy us. More and more kids started to show up to school in tears, talking about what they saw. What the other kids' channels were there, PBS Kids, Sprout, Discovery Kids, we didn't want to watch those. I wasn't impervious to it. Some of Bad Mouse's hijackings, I saw them. Until they scared me away. Every time I fought, I was brave enough to watch. I couldn't have just not. But it was like a morbid curiosity. I just had to. I guess I thought it was interesting, or that I had to for some reason. What I saw that night of the July 15th, however, I cannot accurately describe the lasting emotional trauma it has surely left on me. 10:28 p.m. I was supposed to be asleep, but come on, any kid with a TV in their rooms is just not going to get any sleep tonight. That's a fact. Anyways, I was getting bored of PBS Kids. Sprouts was for babies, and Discovery Kids didn't interest me one bit. Knew it was risky, but I decided to switch to Nickelodeon. Deep down, I knew that I'd be in store for, but a part of me thought enough time had passed. Maybe everything was under control. To my surprise, everything was actually fine. The SpongeBob SquarePants episode, Valentine's Day, was on, breathing a sigh of relief. I laid back on my bed, preparing to fall asleep. It wasn't until I got uncomfortable when I realized something. It was a nightmare time. And you know what that meant? Nick at night, not at children's cartoons like SpongeBob, was thinking more of that episode progressed. Up until they arrived at the carnival, the episode was perfectly normal. It was only after SpongeBob said, "Now take that quarter and buy some cotton candy," and was interrupted by Patrick that everything went downhill. Right after that line was uttered, both SpongeBob's expression dropped and froze in frame. The audio continued for a few seconds until it suddenly cut out with a loud beeping noise, leaving nothing but silence. My heart sank into my chest. Quickly, I grabbed the remote. I knew I probably should have just went back to PBS Kids or just turn off the TV and go to sleep. However, something compelled me to check Cartoon Network. I pressed the 6 and 0 buttons. My TV blackened out and it switched to the other channel. After 30 seconds with nothing happening, I was confused. After 5 minutes of nothing happening, anxiety was beginning to overcome me. I was about to switch back to the Nickelodeon after Cartoon Network finally came back on. It wasn't right though. It was just a gray screen with the Cartoon Network logo in the middle. Every 30 seconds or so, the monotone female voice said, "Cartoon Network is dead." Scared out of my mind, I immediately went to switch back to Nickelodeon. Fuck. Why was I be so stupid? Pure unadulterated chaos unfolded on my TV. A mismatch of distorted low quality and out of sync videos played. I couldn't make out all of them, but the ones I could distinguish were a child watching his own mother getting beaten to death, someone running outside at night, a real cartoony mouse version, not a puppet version, of Bad Mouse dancing in an effigy of a person made of out of white liquid, some guy going at it into a tub of ice cream, him, a man dressed like the Pope alone in a desert preaching about the devil, Bad Mouse dumping cats into a meat grinder, their meat not being red, but instead of white liquid, some kid watching his pet dog being shot to death by his father with a BB gun, a man dressed into like a shark trying to devour someone in a car, people with odd square heads headbutting each other over and over until their skulls bashed in. A few guys riding dirt bikes in the forest. Some dirty and naked fat guy with a big bushy beard adorned with the candy saying, "The world is candy cane," over and over again in a stuttering fashion. A weird-looking girl staring motionless at the camera for 15 seconds. White liquid begins to leak out of her eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. She winds her eyes and begins to say, "Eeeeee," until her head suddenly explodes. Every 30 seconds or so, it would cut to black in the same freeze frame of SpongeBob, only for a few seconds. I noticed his eyes getting smaller and smaller. As time went on, he became more hideous, mutated, and misshapen. His nose was way too big, his smile was all crooked, everything was so distorted and warped. I'd never been so scared. Then a thought ran through my mind, something that seemed crazy that couldn't possibly be true. Bad Mouse, the white liquid, the man, Kaylee. No, it couldn't be. I grabbed the remote, stupidly thinking I could rewind. Obviously, I couldn't. That little girl, that was Kaylee. I knew it was. I knew my sister better than anyone. There was a little mistake in her, though. She didn't age a day, and her hair wasn't the same shade anymore, much lighter. She was also much skinnier, veins popping out all over her body. Her eyes were much wider. huge, jutting far off her face, pointing at different directions like googly eyes. Did I just watch my sister die? I yelled for my parents, who rushed in immediately and scolded me for watching Nickelodeon during that time. Their moods immediately changed when I told them what I saw. At first, they didn't believe me, but I was persistent. They had to believe me this time. I wasn't letting that mouse fuck get away with it again. Time had passed, yes, the bombings happened, and yes, you can say, I was extremely traumatized by what I saw. I'm not gonna go into it, but you can imagine just how much it fucked me up. I suppose the only good thing about to come out of this, and the police with some detectives were able to interview my family and I brought up what happened at the playground when I was 6. Instead of laughs and scoffs, I was only met with understanding and reassurance that whoever this man, Bad Mouse, was, they would find him. We haven't heard anything from him since. Years have passed, life as well. It's been hard. Drugs and alcohol to be preferred getaways into my own wishy-washy fantasy world. I often contemplated unalive. Every day I scoured the internet trying to find the exact hijacking I saw that night. A few weeks ago, someone on YouTube finally uploaded it. It was fucking her. The more I thought about it, the more I realized it was my fault. If I hadn't been such a stupid fucking child, just blabbering my mouth about how my sister loved mice and shit, maybe Kaylee might still be alive. Or no, maybe she wouldn't. Maybe Bad Mouse didn't give a shit whether I answered yes or no. Clearly, he had his sights on her the second we pulled into the parking lot. I just wish I'd done something, though. Anything to save her. I can't do this anymore. This has been James, the man who let his sister die. Bye.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.